Good morning, Husker fans. Welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. We are back here on Friday morning after a big season opening victory for Nebraska's 2017 triumph for the Huskers over the Cincinnati Bearcats in the Kansas City Classic. Excuse me. There was a few kind of pulse pounding moments there at the end. It was definitely a nail biter for Nebraska, but Malcolm Hartzog comes up with the key interception. So Nebraska is 1-0. We're going to talk about all the fallout from this matchup. The things that we liked, the things that we didn't like. We're going to dish out some grades, some game MVP awards. So before we do all that, please make sure that you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, get into the comment section. And Danny, how are you doing on this Friday morning?
I'm tired, but I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It was a late one for me. It didn't get over till almost midnight. But I'm good. I'm very happy about the victory, and I'm happy to start the season 1-0 for the second year in a row.
Yeah, not. I know everybody's not, thrilled about everything that happened last night, but it is the season opener, and the most important thing is that Nebraska's 1-0. There's a lot of ways that it could have went down, and when Brandon Sorsby threw that pass up in the air, there was certainly part of me that was like, "Oh, here we go again." But Malcolm Hartzog was, able to make the play and sealed the deal. But Nebraska definitely had some chances to, put this thing away a lot earlier that they didn't take advantage of.
And I feel like this is a better Cincinnati team than a lot of people are giving them credit for. They played well. I mean, they hung in with Nebraska, and their running backs were really good, and Sorsby, I thought, played pretty well. So I think this was a good team.
Yeah, Sorsby definitely gave Nebraska some problems, as we sort of predicted that he would. They still have no idea how to defend a running quarterback. He shredded them: 13 carries, 96 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, had 29 long of 29 yards. Cincinnati had 4 different players that recorded a run of 10 yards or longer. Walker had 7 for 53. Pryor had 5 for 29. Luckily, he had another play. There was a swing pass. He was wide open and he missed it. Probably would have been a really big play, and he dropped the ball. So Nebraska definitely was fortunate in this game. They were +2 in turnover margin. They got the Vincent Shavers forced the fumble right before halftime, which led to a key Nebraska touchdown. And then, of course, you get the interception at the end of the game. They did a good job taking care of the football. There were some, the ball was on the ground a few times, though. Jermaine Bonner put the ball on the ground. I guess Ja'Cory Barnes was caused by the ground, so it wasn't actually a fumble, but Dylan Raiola fumbled as well. So Nebraska did have a few fortunate breaks there. A lot of different guys caught passes for Nebraska. Raiola, 33 of 42, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns, was sacked 3 times, including on that last drive as Nebraska was trying to put the game out of reach. He did run the ball 4 times for -1 yards, which is mostly due to the sacks, but he did have that 1 9-yard run for a first down on the last scoring drive for Nebraska, which was a really huge, that drive won the game. And the decision by Matt Rhule to go for it on the 4th and goal when they were up 13-10, that play won the game, because if they kick a field goal there, they may lose. Potentially not. I mean, they obviously would have had other chances to score and yada yada, but to me, it was obvious that a field goal doesn't, when you're up by 3, a field goal doesn't do you a whole lot of good, right? Because I mean, they can still tie with. So I mean, it was the right decision to go for it. I thought it was the right decision to go for it early in the third quarter, when they were just inside Cincinnati territory on the 4th and 2. I thought that was the right one as well. Didn't work out, but yeah, I think there are definitely some things that concern me, but it's better to have concerns and be 1-0 than to have concerns and be 0-1. So a lot to improve, but a lot of positive things too happened last night.
Yeah, for sure. And it felt like a home game last night. They said it was a neutral site game, but Nebraska fans were loud and proud on Thursday night, and the place was rocking.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the 3 Cincinnati fans they kept showing on the replay. I don't know if anybody else was there outside of Travis Kelce and his girlfriend, but
Fiance now, Chris.
yeah,
Come on.
well, fiance, yeah. Glad she was there to give him a shoulder to cry on after his team lost on his home field. So I thought that was kind of funny. I thought Nebraska with the Cornhusker meme and Taylor Swift, I thought that was pretty timely. But yeah, I mean, what are you encouraged after that win? Like, how did this change your? I guess, does this change your expectations for the rest of the season, or is it too early to even think about that?
Way too early to even think about that. It's game one, way too early. A relatively new defensive system, new defensive line all around. We have a new secondary, which I thought Andrew Marshall played very well last night. And yeah, it's still way too early to make any, run to judgment, so to speak.
I do think, you know, I am really worried about the defensive line. I'll say that. I mean, I know there's plenty of time to improve, but they got gashed last night. I mean, they offered basically zero pass rush. I mean, there was little to no pass rush. I mean, there was a little bit on blitzes, but anytime they really got pressure, it was because the second it was like more coverage related. There wasn't. I don't think there was any time that I remember where a Nebraska defensive lineman beat their guy and generated a pressure. I could be wrong. There's maybe some situations. I know Riley Van Poppel, they almost had him for a sack, but even in that situation, to me, I thought was more of a coverage deal than anything else. And there was a pressure. So I mean, I don't know. That really concerned me that none of that, Deshaun McCullough, Davis, Leonard, none of those guys were getting home against the Cincinnati offensive line. And then, I mean, not to point out people, but Elijah Judy was getting moved last night. I mean, he was getting moved on the first drive of the game, the first big run. He got driven out 5-7 yards off the ball. So, I mean, it was happening quite a bit. And I just don't know if he's going to be able to hold up. And this is a Big 12 offensive line. I mean, we're going to see a lot better offensive lines, a lot more physical teams. And the entire second half, I know that the pass defense played well and they only gave up 65 yards or whatever, but that's because, what the secret, Cincinnati didn't need to run. I mean, they didn't have to pass. I mean, if they had gotten the ball with more than 2 minutes left, I mean, great job by the offense, but if there had been 5 minutes left, they probably just would have ran the football right down the field and scored. So I am very worried about this run defense. I mean, yeah, it's not going to be probably a huge issue against Akron and Houston Christian, but when you got that Michigan team coming here in a few weeks, they're going to pound the rock. And I guarantee you their offensive line's better than Cincinnati's. Their running backs are better than Cincinnati's, and their quarterback can run just like Cincinnati's can. So this does make me worry about that matchup defensively after what we saw on Thursday night.
I mean, that Cincinnati backfield is probably one of the best we'll face. And that's a credit to the Bearcats. I mean, their backfield is really, really good, and there's definitely reason to be concerned for Michigan and even Penn State. But I'm gonna reserve my judgment until maybe after the Michigan game on this defensive line. I do think they have potential, and it was concerning that they didn't get a pass rush home too much, but it's game one, so I'm not too worried yet.
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati does have a really good backfield for sure. I mean, so let's give them credit, but it just, to me, it seemed, it wasn't I didn't feel like a lot of their runs were their backs making great plays. There was a few, but some it was just way too much room, and a lot of it is it is difficult when you run the quarterback because you have to give him respect on those read plays. So, but yeah, I thought the secondary was spectacular. I thought Andrew Marshall was great. Donovan Jones made some big plays. Obviously, Hartzog at the end. I mean, really, they didn't give up much of anything pass wise. So I thought they did a really good job. Emmett Johnson was incredible last night in terms of, his production. I think he had 108 yards. 25 carries for 108 yards. But again, you look at, we talk all off season about, the running back depth and, where the coaching staff is we've got a great running back room. And, Mekhi Nelson and Isaiah Mosley did not look the part last night. They only got 2 carries combined, but I mean, there was a reason for that, right? They did not look, both the times they got the ball, and I know it's hard to evaluate on one carry, but somebody else has got to emerge because Emmett Johnson cannot carry the ball 25 times a game. He's not going to make it through a Big Ten season if that's the case. He had a great game last night, but I mean, 32 touches like that, 32 touches, 135 yards, that's great, but he can't be touching the ball 32 times over 12. He's just not going to make it through the season if that's the case.
I don't think that's going to be the case. And like you said, only 3 touches for Nelson and Mosey. So I'm going to reserve my judgment again on the running back room. I mean, I don't think we saw offensively, I don't think we pulled out the entire bag of tricks, so to speak. I think Emmett Johnson was hot, and so he rode the hot hand. But again, I'm not worried about the running back room depth yet because even the plays that they got were end arounds that Cincinnati sniffed.
So we'll see what happens. I do think that those just the questions that we had in the offseason, I think those are still questions. Running back, D line, and frankly the offensive line was not they could have played better, especially in the pass protection. Elijah Pritchett, he did come in there. He had some. I thought he actually played okay, but when you false start at the 1 yard line, and I mean, they ended up getting a field goal there. They're at the 1 yard line. They end up getting a field goal after he false starts. And so I don't remember him playing again after that series, after
No,
that sequence.
it was
So
Gunner, I think, after Elijah.
it was Gunner and Turner Corcoran was out there, and he got toasted a couple times. So he was out there playing. It's like, man, if Turner Corcoran's our left tackle this season, that is not good. Like, I'm sorry, but he needs to be a guard. I mean, we've been saying that for years. And when I saw him out there at tag, it wasn't all game. It was mostly Gunnar Gatula, but I saw him get beat right around the corner. And it's like, that is not, if you have Turner Corcoran out there against Michigan's pass rushers, which is one of the best pass rushers in college football, Dylan Raiola is going to have a tough day. So I'm really worried about that. I mean, we did not talk about the Cincinnati defense being, I mean, I know they have Corleone, but he's not even really a super great pass rusher. And, they got 3 or 4 sacks. They did it with a little bit of pressure too, but that is slightly concerning to me. I was hoping that those guys would play better. They did open a lot of holes for our, Emmett Johnson, and the interior I thought was great. I thought the interior guys played really well, except that one stupid penalty on Latoski, which wasn't, I didn't think that was a penalty. That was just a really
No.
bad call on the ref. Unfortunate for Nebraska because he bumped him into the Gatula, and then he fell down and made it look worse than it was. But yeah, the edge, I would say pass rush, pass protection, and run defense. Those are probably my 3 biggest concerns coming out of this game.
Yeah, and I'm again. I think the Cincinnati defensive line was a lot better than we gave him credit for. I thought Corleone, how quick he moved and how he can rush the passer was extremely impressive for a guy's size. And I do think this offensive line needs to be better, but I'm confident that they will be able to get it corrected. If not, it is going to be a long season. And but one thing I did notice that was pretty good was the special teams. I didn't really have any complaints about the special teams, and I thought the field goal kickers, Kunin, I thought he did really, really well, especially on a 52-yard field goal. That was pretty crazy, and he definitely has the leg to make those.
Yeah, I kind of wish that they had let him. I guess it worked out because they ended up punting it, so it was okay. But I kind of thought they should let him try that, but it was like a 54-yarder late in the second half or late in the second quarter. But yeah, two big field goals there. Of course, that 52-yarder ended up being the winning points in the game. So yeah, Archie Wilson, 2 really good punts inside the 10-yard line when they needed it. He delivered. Wasn't really didn't break the big return. I was hoping they would do that, but they did everything else that you want out of your special teams. So yeah, if we'll be getting to our grades in a minute, but special teams definitely earned some high marks. And I like what Matt Rhule did. I think for the most part, I thought all of his coaching decisions were on point. Like I said, I liked going for it on 4th down. They ran the football a lot. I do sometimes wish. I think this is the kind of melding or the Matt Rhule and Dana Holgerson offensive systems, in the sense that Nebraska did not use a lot of tempo. I mean, they were fine just letting the clock letting the play clock kind of run down. I mean, they were fine playing that ball control type of offensive, system. And Cincinnati didn't get a whole lot of plays, which I just thought that was interesting because that felt much more, NFL-ish to me than, like an air raid system, or, there really wasn't any tempo to it. Nebraska was snapping the ball with like 5 seconds almost every play, whether it was in the first quarter or the fourth quarter. So I thought that was interesting. And I think it's the type of offense that we're going to see this season. So and as far as Raiola, I thought he was really good. He had the one throw that could have been a pick 6 that we're lucky the kid dropped, because that could have really changed the game. But outside of that, I thought he made good decisions. I mean, he took the 1 sack, but as Matt Rhule said after the game, what other decision was he supposed to make that wasn't really on him? If you throw the ball away, then you save a timeout for the other team. And I mean, it made it difficult to convert the 3rd down, but I don't think that really changed much. And except maybe they could have tried a field goal. They were kind of close to that range, but I don't think that is like a negative decision on his part, more
No,
just an issue for the line. And yes, I mean, Cincinnati played that zone defense. We knew they were going to play. And Raiola just, there wasn't a lot of big plays to be had, but he just took what the defense gave him. Only 5.7 yards per attempt, which, you'd like to see that up near 7, but that just wasn't there for the taking. And he took what the defense gave him. And I thought he
he
really
does a
showed
lot better against zone defenses than man defenses.
yeah, I saw that statistic, and you know, I think by the end of the season, that's going to play out much better with the man coverage thing. They just didn't have guys that could win against man coverage. I mean, you saw Isaiah Hunter and Dane Key last night. I mean, like you look at the touchdown, the 4th and 2, right? That was an RPO, and it was in Dylan Reddit. Dane Key had to beat his man one-on-one, or that play doesn't happen, and he did it. That's just at the end of the day, that's what you have to do. You have to have guys that can get open, beat press coverage, and make a play. And last year they just didn't have that.
That was a
So
good play call too, honestly, because it made the entire defense bite, and then Raiola quickly got it out to Key for the score. That was a really good play call there.
yeah, and it was a really good read. He also had he did that to Lindenmeyer. I can't remember if they scored. I think so. He got down to the 1 yard line, but maybe I don't remember if they
I
scored.
think it
Maybe
was the
that
one
was
yard line.
I think that was the play where Pritchett then false started, but that was an RPO and he threw it to Lindenmeyer on a 3rd down. That was a key play. And I thought he showed a lot of maturity, and you could really see the growth in Raiola from year 1 to year 2.
Because the only other touchdown was that leaping grab over 2 defenders by an Isaiah Hunter. Man, he is going to make an impact a lot quicker than I thought. I know there were questions. He wasn't necessarily at the top of the depth chart when training camp started, but boy, he is really, really good.
Yeah, yeah, well, to me, it's just Isaiah Hunter's exactly the kind of receiver that this team needed, a guy that can go up and make a play on the ball. Because as much as I love Ja'Cory Barney, that's just not what he's just not great at that. I mean, he just doesn't. He's not a huge big receiver. Like he has his routes that he can run, but like you need a guy that can go get a jump ball. And last year, those guys just weren't doing it. If it would have been last year, Isaiah Nair would have went up and juggled that, and it would have hit the ground. The ball would have fell on the ground, or the other team would have picked it off. Like you'd have to go up and you need to make plays for your quarterback. And I thought Isaiah Hunter did that. 6 for 65. Dane Key had 6 for 51. Lindenmeyer 5 for 47. 7 receptions for Evan Johnson. 5 for 27 for Ja'Cory Barney. Cortez Mills had a catch. Quinn Clark had a catch. They kept trying to get the ball to Bonner, which I did not understand. It's like if there's anybody on our offense that doesn't need to touch the ball, it's Duranian Bonner. Like he's a great blocker, and I understand like trying to use him as a decoy, but when you're in a critical 3rd down and whatever it was, and they tried to run a screen, it was 3rd and 6, and they ran a screenplay to Bonner. I'm like, what are we doing here? And then they give him the ball near the end zone, and he fumbled it. And it just there's just, to me, there's a lot of other guys on this team that need to get the ball before Bonner does. So let's just take that whole section out of the playbook.
I mean, I didn't mind trying to get the ball to Bonner because we've seen him try to do the and succeed at the end arounds and short passes in the red zone. It didn't work last night, but I still think he can add some value there, not all value. I'd rather have other playmakers, like you said, get the ball, but I understood what they were trying to do.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I understood it, but the goal line one I didn't mind as much, but the 3rd down play I did not like that. Because like I understand on goal line you have a few chances and you're trying to mix somebody up, but it was like 3rd and 6, and
Yeah,
I don't know if they were trying to get it close for a 4th down conversion, which might have been the case, but it's just I don't run a screenplay to Duranian Bonner on 3rd and 6. Just don't do it. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, I didn't really have many issues. I never try to criticize play calling too much, but yeah, I feel like there's other guys to get the ball. I did think that the lack of carries for the other backs was interesting, though. So that it's going to be, they're obviously going to get some attempts in the next couple of games. With Akron and Houston Christian, and I would try to keep the light load for the workload light for Emmett Johnson these next 2 games. I really would, because that Big Ten schedule, man, it's going to be tough, and it just seems like there's him, and then there's a huge drop off to number 2, and I think some of those concerns that we had may be justified. It's obviously too early to make any overreactions, but I mean, just the fact that they only gave those guys each 1 carry, I think is pretty telling.
Well, the other thing is Evan Johnson was hot. He was running the football 4 yards per carry, so I could see them wanting to make him the feature back. And I think the types of plays again, the types of plays that they ran, they had 3 carries and one was an end around, and then or were 2 end arounds. I know they did a couple end arounds with Mosey, but I'll reserve my judgment on the running back room until the next 2 games.
I mean, yeah, and I get that Emmett Johnson was hot last night, and that was one of the things that was working. But it's just if he's getting the ball that many times a game, he's gonna break down. He just is. Like he's just. I love Emmett Johnson. I think he's a tough guy, but I saw Michigan do it with Blake Corum. I saw them break Blake Corum in 2022 because he's such a good player. It was hard not to, but they were giving him the ball 24, 23, 22. I mean, just over and over again. And I mean, like I understand why, and I understand why they want to do it with Emmett Johnson. But if they try to give him 300 carries this year, he's not going to make it through the season. So one of those other guys has to step up. And to me, it was just slightly concerning that they didn't trust either of them, to really, come in and take multiple carries. So I don't know if there's, worries about pass protection. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, it's definitely too early to say anything definitive. But that just was a little bit of a red flag to me that, they talked these guys up so much and then they barely played them. So I don't know. I just thought that was a little weird.
I did like what Lindenmeyer was able to do on in terms of receiving. We did have some questions about the tight end room coming in, and 5 catches for 47, like you mentioned, 9.4 yards per catch. I thought he did a really nice job uh, catching and then making things happen after the catch. I really liked him at the end of last season, and I think that he's going to play a big role in this room. And I think he's a very good tight end. I really do.
Yeah, I think he's gonna catch a lot of passes this year. So let's get to the grades before we get too much into it. So let's just go offense, defense, special teams, and then maybe we can grade the coaching staff, coaching performance from this game. As far as the offense, I thought they did a pretty good job. They were effective and they held the ball for a lot. They had a lot of time of possession, 353 total yards, 78 plays, gave up 3 sacks, 3 penalties, 23 first downs. They were really good on third down.
They
Um,
were. Yeah.
I would give it a B. I think they definitely, left a lot of meat on the bone. I think this easily could have been, probably a 30-point performance. Maybe if they don't get that false start, they get a touchdown. They had 5 possessions total that I counted that were in Cincinnati territory that ended in turnover on downs, a field goal, or a punt. So there was definitely some chances when they were in the scoring range that they weren't able to get the ball into the end zone. So I would like to see him be a little more efficient, in that way. And they did only have one explosive play all game. So that one deep pass to Isaiah Hunter, 24 yards, that was the only explosive play that they had. So I know that's kind of the Cincinnati defense, bend but don't break, take what they give you. But at the same time, hopefully they can create some more explosive plays. Still a solid all around night. I'm going to give them a B.
I'll give them C plus just because I think they did leave a lot of meat on the bone, but I also think holding the football and bleeding the clock was by design to not have Sorsby back on the field and give the defense some rest too. So, C plus. I think they did pretty well. I know that there were the turnovers and things like that, but I think they definitely have to improve, but it wasn't a poor showing by any means.
All right. So the defense, they give up 271 yards on 55 plays, 4.9 yards a play. Cincinnati actually had 4.9 a play opposed to 4.4 a play for Nebraska. So yards per play, Cincinnati did outproduce Nebraska. 202 rushing yards for the Bearcats. We already talked about Sorsby, who had a big game running the ball, but Walker also 7 for 53. Prior 5 for 29. So 3 guys that averaged, who had 5 carries, averaged at least 5.8 a carry. So that was a little concerning. Nebraska, I thought, did a great job, and the longest pass was a 14-yard play. So really, they did not do much at all in the passing game. 16 first downs to 23 for Nebraska, 2 turnovers, 2 huge turnovers, one but forced by Vincent Shavers, the other by Hartzog. So I'm going to say I'm going to say B minus for the defense because, giving up 200 yards rushing. I mean, I can understand giving up some rushing yards, but they gave up way too many. And I just, yeah, if Cincinnati had been able to, you know, if they'd run the ball a little bit more in the first half, then maybe things could have been a little bit different. So I'm not sure why they didn't kind of use Sorsby as much in the first half. Thankfully, they didn't. But yeah, the second half performance for Nebraska, not great. 2 touchdowns allowed. They did save themselves with the 1 turnover, but it was looking for a minute like it was going to be overtime or maybe maybe even a loss there. So I like how they finished, but I do want to see a better pass rush and a better run defense next in the next few games.
I'll give them a B minus. I thought they did well. Like I thought they were flying around at least, and I thought the secondary for the most part played pretty well. There were some leaks, obviously, on the defensive line, and the run defense is going to be something to watch. Hopefully, it can improve. But overall, I thought they did decent. They didn't do great, but they held their own because that's a good running quarterback and a good running back room. So hopefully that and that's a story of the Big Ten, right? So hopefully that can improve.
And then special teams. So, they made all the kicks, had a couple of punts inside the 10, no big returns either way, no big penalties. So I'm gonna give them an A. I think they, checked every box. They definitely helped the team win. They don't win if there's not a solid special teams performance last night. You look back to last season, could Nebraska have made a 52-yard field goal? Probably
No.
not, maybe. I mean, Hall did make a couple of long ones, so I mean maybe, but you know, it's kind of dicey. And so Archie Wilson delivering, yeah, I thought that they did a really good job, and that third of the team I thought was really clean. So if there would have been a big return, a punt return or a kickoff return, that would have given them an A plus. That's the only thing that was kind of missing from it being a perfect night. But outside of that, Mike Eckler's first night as in his return as Nebraska special teams coach was really impressive.
I'll give them an A plus because just for the 52-yard field goal alone, I mean they helped win this game big. I thought the punting was excellent. Archie Wilson, being only a freshman, dealing with moving halfway across the country and all these other things, I thought he played. I thought he was fantastic. And then Kunin, we were kind of wondering what we would get from him, and he drilled that 52-yard field goal. So I was very happy with the special team performance. And if that's a sign of things to come, then we're in good hands.
Yeah, I think I think that is a sign of things to come. So I think we'll see consistently good special teams moving forward. And yeah, I feel very confident that Nebraska is not going to be ranked 116th by the end of the year in the special teams rankings. So we'll keep an eye on those and keep you updated to where they end up as the season goes along. As far as my coaching grades, I thought that the coaching staff did a good job. Like I said, I liked the decisions that Matt Rhule made. I don't think there was anything that I can criticize. I thought the play calling was good. I thought John Butler did a nice job defensively. So
And Phil Snow, we got to give a shout out to Phil Snow too.
yeah, Phil Snow, obviously first game coach, or he had some games last year he coached with the team, but kind of in his new role, assisting the defense more. Yeah, so I thought it was a solid job by the coaching staff. I mean, again, some meat was left on the bone, but I'm going to give him an A for the first win of the season.
Yeah, and honestly, again, that's a tough Cincinnati team, and I don't care if their record, what their record was last year. They're going to be a very good football team this year, and I thought Nebraska did a good job containing them as best they could. So I'll definitely give them an A.
All right, so who is your MVP from last night? We probably
This is
the
tough.
play of the game, I would say, is the Malcolm Hartzog interception, just because that sealed it. I mean, you had an Isaiah Hunter touchdown catch, which I thought was a really big play too. But I would say that the Malcolm Hartzog play was the play of the game. My MVP, it's really tough. I think Facebook, I gave it to Malcolm Hartzog just because he made the biggest play of the game. They don't win without that play. So I mean, defensive MVP, I think would be him, and then offensively, I would have to say Dylan Raiola. I know a lot of people would say Emmett Johnson, and he truly balled out, but the way Raiola was on third down, he was money. And I just don't think that Nebraska, if you don't have an elite quarterback like Raiola, he was last night, and if they don't have a quarterback like that, I mean, they probably lose this game. You look at that one drive when it was 13-10. That's when you need your quarterback to answer. And there's been so many times where Nebraska didn't. This time they did, and that's what gave them the cushion to, basically be able to run on enough clock that Cincinnati didn't have a ton of time to operate on that last possession. So I'm going to give Dylan Raiola my game MVP, 243 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and really was money on the money down against the Bearcats.
I'm gonna give it to Emmett Johnson. I think Raiola played great. Don't get me wrong, and this was tough for me. But Emmett Johnson really controlled the rushing attack, and he ran like a man on a mission. He ran hard, and he ran well, and he extended a lot of drives, and also kept the Nebraska defense, off the field, which I thought was important, given that the talents of Sorsby and the running back from Cincinnati. So Emmett Johnson is my game MVP. Although Hartzog, I mean, that entire last drive was the Malcolm Hartzog experience. He'll make you upset, but then he'll make a leaping interception to end the game. So there you go. I mean, what a great play that was by Hartzog. It seemed like he was the wide receiver almost. So, but Emmett Johnson gets my game MVP, and I'm hoping to see more performances like that from him.
All right, well, there you have it, folks. Emmett Johnson for Danny, Dylan Raiola for myself. Some pretty solid grades across the board for Nebraska. A couple things to be worried about, but it is still game 1, so we'll see how it works out. When the next big test, we got Houston Christian and Akron. The next big test is Michigan. That's when we're going to learn a lot. Nebraska should be 3-0 going into that game, so it's going to be one of the biggest games Nebraska's had in a long time, regardless of the record for Michigan, and I can't wait for it. So the next 2 weeks, obviously, will be important as they kind of move forward in this process in the season, getting better every day. As Matt Rhule said, that's the goal. He said they're going to be back at it 11 o'clock today, lifting weights and, getting better for the next game. So, good positive first step, though. And I had moments where, I had the Dublin and, all the Iowa games and all that, 10-point lead for Nebraska and yada, yada. But looks like these guys have finally learned how to win close games, which I think is going to bode well moving forward.
Yeah, I thought, and that was a key test there too. They didn't make any major mistakes in the close moments, like a fumble or anything like that. I was waiting for a fumble or something to happen, but they buckled down. And when the odds were not stacked against them, but when they were shifting in Cincinnati's favor, Nebraska was able to seal the deal.
Yeah, coaches always say, it comes down to a big play here or there, and Nebraska made it. So they made it. They made the big plays they needed to in the Pinstripe Bowl. They made the big plays in this game, and they're learning how to win. So that's a really positive thing. I think the most positive thing I would say to take away from this game is Nebraska is learning how to win. So we will wrap it up there. If you haven't already, you guys, please do us a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, get into the comment section. Let us know your grades or your game MVP or just your thoughts on Nebraska's performance. So we will be back with another episode on Monday. We've got some volleyball action this weekend. They play Liscum tonight before a matchup on Sunday against 7th-ranked Kentucky. So we'll have some other things to talk about on Monday. And as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.